Ethan Moore wasn't your typical millionaire. He wore simple shirts, drove an old truck, and always sat with his employees during lunch breaks. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years ago, food never tasted the same. His world felt quiet, like something was missing. One ordinary Tuesday, he noticed someone new at the factory cafeteria, a woman sitting alone at the corner table, unwrapping her small, dented lunchbox. Her name was Lila, a single mom who had just joined as a junior accountant. Every day, she brought homemade food while others ordered takeout. Ethan admired how she smiled even when her lunch was just a few rice balls and vegetables. One day, when Lila was called away for an urgent phone call, she left her lunchbox on the table. Out of curiosity, Ethan peeked inside, expecting something ordinary. Instead, he found a note inside. "For Mommy, don't forget to eat. You work too hard. Love, Ben." Ethan froze. It was written in crayon. Suddenly, his chest tightened. The note reminded him of the little notes his late wife used to tuck into his briefcase when she was alive. When Lila returned, embarrassed, she tried to explain. But Ethan just smiled gently. "Your son's got a big heart," he said softly. She blushed, not knowing that a simple note had stirred something deep inside him, a feeling he thought he'd never feel again. After that day, Ethan found himself looking forward to lunch breaks more than board meetings. He'd spot Lila sitting with her small lunchbox, smiling shyly when their eyes met. Eventually, he began joining her, bringing his own food, though it was usually something he reheated from the company cafe. Their conversation started light, about work, her son's school projects, and his struggles as a single dad raising a teenage daughter. But soon, they began to share stories that went deeper, about loss, fear, and finding strength when life didn't go as planned. Ethan learned that Lila worked 2 jobs just to keep her little boy in school. She often skipped her own meals to make sure he never went to bed hungry. Yet, she never complained. She always said, "As long as Ben smiles, I'm full." One afternoon, Ethan asked if she'd like to join him and his daughter, Emily, for dinner at his home. Lila hesitated, worried about boundaries, but his kindness felt genuine. That evening, she arrived with a homemade pie, nervous and humble. But Emily adored her instantly. The 3 of them laughed, shared stories, and for the first time in years, Ethan's home felt alive again. As Lila left, Ethan's daughter whispered, "Dad, she reminds me of Mom." He smiled faintly, eyes misty. "Yeah," he said, "she reminds me of love." That night, Ethan realized something profound. Wealth could build companies, but kindness could rebuild hearts. The next morning, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Lila and her son. He walked into his office, opened his planner, but every line of numbers blurred into thoughts of her quiet strength. He asked his assistant to pull Lila's file. She had been working for only 3 months, yet her record showed perfect attendance and glowing performance reviews. Still, her salary was barely enough to cover rent and school fees. Ethan felt something twist inside him, a mix of admiration and guilt. That evening, while driving home, he stopped by a small grocery store. He filled a few bags with groceries, some school supplies, and a warm blanket. He left them quietly at Lila's doorstep with a simple note. For Ben, every superhero deserves a sidekick. The next day at work, Lila approached him, eyes wet but smiling. "I know it was you," she said softly. "You didn't have to do that." Ethan chuckled. "Maybe not. But I wanted to." A week later, Ethan hosted a small company lunch. As everyone gathered, Lila brought an extra lunchbox, this time for him. "You gave my son something he'll never forget," she said. "Let me return a little kindness." Inside was homemade curry rice and another note, this one written by Ben. "Thank you for helping my mom smile again." Ethan stared at the note, feeling his throat tighten. He had given them groceries, but what he received was something money could never buy, a piece of his heart back. That day, the millionaire who once had everything realized, he'd finally found what he was missing. Just when life began to feel peaceful again, a storm arrived, both literally and figuratively. A sudden flood swept through the town one weekend, damaging several employees' homes, including Lila's small apartment. She showed up to work the next Monday with tired eyes but the same gentle smile. Her clothes were neatly pressed, though Ethan could see the exhaustion she tried to hide. "Lila, are you okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "Ben and I are staying with a friend for now. We'll be fine." But her trembling hands told another story. That night, Ethan drove to the address listed in her file, a small, water-damaged building. Through the cracked window, he saw Lila and Ben sitting on the floor, sharing a single blanket, laughing softly as they ate noodles from one pot. He stood outside, watching, feeling something powerful stir inside him. They had nothing, yet they still had joy. The next morning, he made a decision. He arranged temporary housing for her through the company's relief program, but didn't mention his involvement. He also sent a repair crew to fix her damaged apartment. When Lila found out, she came to his office in tears. "Why are you doing all this for me?" she asked. Ethan looked up from his desk, his eyes soft. "Because sometimes, helping someone else is the only way to heal yourself." She covered her mouth, overwhelmed. For a long moment, neither of them spoke, just two people who had both lost something, quietly realizing they were helping each other find it again. Outside, the storm had passed. But inside, something new was beginning, something far stronger than either expected. Months passed, and life slowly returned to normal. Lila's apartment was repaired, Ben was thriving in school, and Ethan, once a lonely man, had begun smiling again. Every day, they still shared lunch, though now it wasn't just about food. It was about family, laughter, and healing. One afternoon, Ethan called everyone to the cafeteria for a surprise announcement. The employees gathered, curious. Lila stood near the back, holding her lunchbox as usual. Ethan took the mic. "This company isn't built on numbers or profits," he began. "It's built on people, people like Lila, who remind us what real strength looks like." Everyone clapped, and Lila's cheeks flushed pink. Ethan continued, "That's why, starting today, we're launching a support program for single parents, so no one here ever has to struggle alone again." Tears filled Lila's eyes. She didn't know what to say. After the crowd dispersed, she walked up to him quietly and opened her lunchbox. Inside was another note, just like the one that started it all. "For Mr. Ethan, because heroes need to eat too. Love, Ben." Ethan chuckled softly, blinking back tears. "You know," he said, "this lunchbox changed my life." Lila smiled. "Mine too." He looked at her for a long moment before whispering, "Maybe it's time we stop eating lunch alone." That evening, Ethan, Lila, Emily, and Ben sat together under the golden sunset, for hearts who had all lost something but found each other. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel like a single dad or a lonely millionaire. He felt home. And it all began with a simple lunchbox, and a handwritten note filled with love.